5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. Coming to you live. Has it been live? Say what's up to the people, Dad.
Hey, it's a very special night. We are going to be doing live commentary on Trump's address to the Congress, and we're going to be doing something that Trump hates. What does he hate most when he speaks?
Fact checking.
Fact check. Now, we're not professional fact checkers, and, we don't have all the equipment to do fact checking, but we'll do the best we can with fact checking. And we came on a little bit early, and thanks so much for joining us for this commentary on this first major Trump speech. And I want to put in a little bit of context. Trump promised his presidency would introduce, and this is his words, a golden age in America. And here's what that golden age looks like so far. Rising prices, a looming trade war that will be disastrous for the U.S. and the world economy, plunging consumer confidence, markets taxing. Dow was down almost 700 points today. What else? People's lives ruined. Federal workers fired without cause, often claiming they were fired for poor performance when they had excellent performance reviews or had been employed too recently to have any reviews. For the first time in U.S. history, an American president is appeasing a murderous, bloody dictator in Vladimir Putin who has no objective other than to destroy our democracy and democracy wherever it exists and recreate the Soviet empire. As one authority put it, the Kremlin under Putin has gained more wedge and more influence in the United States than in all the years of the Soviet Union. In fact, those dictators would be envious of what Putin has achieved. But it doesn't stop there. Crippling vital medical research, undermining foreign aid programs that have had solid bipartisan support and saved tens of millions of lives. And if we move out of the foreign aid business, who moves in, Sam?
Russia, China.
It doesn't stop there. The gutting of disaster aid, the backtracking on catastrophic climate change that threatens our survival and well-being on this planet, and the worst crackdown in the history of the presidency on free speech, even though the administration claims to be promoting free speech. They are dictating to teachers from kindergarten to graduate school what they can and cannot teach. And just today, I witnessed what may be the singular most egregious crackdown on free speech by any president, threatening that if colleges and universities allow quote unquote illegal protests, he will shut down all aid to them.
That's
Can
crazy.
you imagine the chilling effect of that, Sam?
That's crazy.
Just crazy. And who's to say what's an illegal protest? I guess Trump. Moreover, universities don't control student protests. They're not responsible for what protests students undergo. And I thought in our democracy, we want to encourage healthy, open, free speech protests. And that's the golden age.
Not good.
Not good. I did a little post today on X where I said, given Donald Trump's proposed big tax breaks for the rich and is cutting back on programs that help the rest of us, he has certainly zeroed in on the real problem in America, that billionaires like him. What's this? What? I'm getting an echo back.
Oh, and your hearing aids? That's weird. That's really, I hear it coming out of your hearing aids. How would that be happening?
I don't know. As I said, he zeroed in on what he thinks is the real problem in America.
I guess you have to take them out.
I won't hear anything.
Oh, no. At least for now.
As I said, I posted on X that given his proposed big tax breaks for the rich and his undermining programs that help the rest of us, he certainly has zeroed in on the biggest problem facing America, that billionaires like himself and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are not rich enough.
That's so strange that you were getting feedback in your hearing aids.
Well, I got to have them in or I won't hear the program.
Right,
I'll put them back in.
Why would that be happening?
It's coming right back in through my hearing aids.
That's crazy.
How's that for weirdness? Can you turn on the volume? Let me see if I can hear it without my hearing aids.
Okay.
Of being the vice president. I believe that Johnson was asked later on in an interview what they talked about, and he said, we made niceties. We didn't talk about politics. We talked about things that two people, two humans talk about.
Just about make it out. Maybe Trump will be a little louder.
Yeah, let me put the CC on too.
Yeah. Oh, that'll do it.
They're talking pretty frequently. J.D. Vance was at the Capitol earlier today for a confirmation hearing for one of the
other point too
people nominated to join the FBI. One of his longtime
Trump's approval rating has been tanking. According to the average of 538, it's about 48%, the lowest of any post-war American president, with one exception. And you know what that other administration exception was?
No.
Trump's first term. Other than that, Trump in his 2 terms have managed to set the bottom of presidential approval ratings early on in the term, often 15 points or more behind other presidents.
All right, we're going to try to fix this issue. Let's see. It might be a Bluetooth issue.
Should I put my hearing aids back in?
Yes, try to put them back in now.
Do we have an audience?
Yeah, we've got 700 people watching.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I tell you what.
It's still coming back.
What? That's so weird. Why would that be happening?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
All right, it stopped.
It stopped?
No.
It's back? I turned the Bluetooth. Does anybody have any idea what could be happening here? Why would his audio be coming through his...
A feedback coming through my hearing aids after I said it.
Yeah.
It's like they were recording. Maybe it's the Russians. Oh, maybe they're recording us.
Huh. 1 second.
Should I put my hearing aids back in?
I was listening back to the stream. It sounds fine. I don't know why it would be echoing back into your...
Nope. If you have the CC on.
I do have it on. It's not showing up right now for some reason. Maybe it'll come up when Trump comes on.
Do you have any questions from our audience before Trump comes on?
Let's see. Let me try to turn blue. I'm trying to fix this real quick.
Okay. They call you Mr. Technician. They call me Mr. Dinosaur.
If I turn the Bluetooth off on your phone, will it still have your...
I'll turn my phone off entirely. How about that?
But will you be able to listen on your...
Yeah.
Oh.
My hearing aids are not dependent on the phone being on.
Oh. Try that.
That might do it. We have any questions?
Oh, right.
Yeah, it seems to have done it. You're like a genius.
This is from member Tina. They say, when a candidate runs for president in the U.S., is there a screening process each must go through to ensure they are not compromised by another country? Has the process evolved over time or stayed the same? I feel 47 is compromised, and I'm wondering if he was vetted for his extensive foreign ties.
He was never vetted. There is no vetting process for a presidential candidate. The only check on a presidential candidate is the vote. It's kind of ironic. I'm not advocating it, but every other official who deals with classified information has to be vetted, but a presidential candidate absolutely does not. I'm not hearing anything.
No feedback? Oh, I don't have the sound on.
Oh, you don't have the sound on. No feedback.
Okay, but you can hear me fine?
And, Trump's ties to Russia and his appeasing of Putin should not have surprised anyone. I've read the news, and a lot of Trump voters are now getting buyer's remorse, saying, we didn't vote for this. I posted this on X too. And my answer was, yes, you did. And you can't make excuses now because you were warned based on Trump's first term and Project 2025, which, of course, he lied about and said he knew nothing about. This is precisely what Trump was going to do. Repeatedly, the American people were warned about that, but somehow Trump voters got conned by the greatest con man in the history of the world, and now a lot of them are getting buyer's remorse. But you can't say this isn't what you voted for because you were warned time and time again that this is exactly what Trump would be doing.
I'm going to ask you another question, then I got to run and grab my hard drive real quick. Atticus Drewis says, how can we as citizens align with the UK and EU and not our executive branch to aid what they are doing to strengthen NATO?
Yeah, the best thing you can do is contact your senators and your congressmen. Make it crystal clear that NATO and collective security is what has kept America safe since the end of World War II. And now Trump is dismantling that alliance for no good reason. And the only beneficiary of that is the brutal, bloody dictator Vladimir Putin, who wants to destroy democracy, reestablish the Soviet Empire. Remember, this is a guy who imprisons and kills his political opponents. This is a guy who invaded Chechnya, Georgia, Ukraine. And yet Trump has launched probably, except for some other Trump fictions, the greatest fiction in the history of the presidency, that somehow it was Ukraine, not Russia, that started the war. That's like saying some mugger punches you in the face and someone says, oh, it's your fault because you got your face in the way of that mugger's fist. That's how absurd the claim that somehow this lesser power, Ukraine, started a war with one of the great powers of the world, Russia, a war that almost every analyst thought that Russia would win in a matter of days or weeks. It just staggers the imagination that anyone could possibly buy into that fiction, or the fiction, that Trump really won the 2020 election, or, a dozen other fictions, that Barack Obama was really born in Africa, not in Hawaii. We could go through any number of fabrications. It's not just fabrications. Trump and his allies have created a whole alternative world. The best anticipation of that are two books that I'd recommend to you. Sinclair Lewis, It Can't Happen Here. And Sinclair Lewis, in that book and other statements, he's a Nobel Prize winner for literature, warned that this is exactly the way authoritarianism would come to America, not through, violence or a military coup, but through an internal coup that wraps itself in patriotism and religion as a means to affect an internal coup. Remember, I also compared this to another internal coup, Napoleon's in 1799, that overturned the democracy, led to the Napoleonic dictatorship, and the result was wars that cost the French anywhere from 400,000 to 1 million lives, as well as untold lives of peoples of other nations.
All right, before Trump comes on, we're going to throw it to our sponsor on today's video, Ground News.
I want to talk to you again about accuracy and bias in the media. Ground News is a website and app that I use that pulls articles from all over the world and organizes them by story. With Ground News, you can compare how different outlets cover the same story, complete with context and visual breakdowns of the sources. You'll see details like their political bias, reliability, reporting practices, and ownership, which is critical. These ratings are created through 3 independent news monitoring organizations. For example, take the story, quote, Congress formally certifies Trump election win, unquote. There are over 600 news sources for this story, with 38% of the bias being from the center. It's also great to see that 73% of these sources are rated as highly factual, and 11% of them are independent sources. Take a look at the bias comparison, which gives you an AI summary for the left, center, and right sources. Examining the headlines further, sources from the right focus on terms like certifies, exhausted Democrats, and Democrats cling, whereas the left headlines focus on terms like a good day for democracy, peacefully, and routine. The blind spot feed highlights news stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. You know how much I care about combating misleading information. Ground News helps you see through misleading narratives and stay informed without being overwhelmed. So go to ground.news/Allan, ALLAN, or scan this QR code to subscribe. My link saves you 40% on their top tier Vantage plan, which I use to access all their features. That's only $5 a month in a world where news moves fast and the truth is hard to find. It's important to be using Ground News to see the full perspective. Plus, by subscribing, you're directly supporting my work. That's damn good.
Oh, everybody just heard you say that. He's never seen it before because it's
I've never seen it before. I kind of like that guy.
There you go. Trump,
even though he's kind of old and broken down.
No, you're not, Dad.
Nah.
No.
Hey, I'm getting ready for the Senior Olympics, so can't be too broken down.
Trump still hasn't even entered yet, and it's 9:12 Eastern already. So
typical Trump rudeness. He doesn't
Trump.
care about anyone else. He's happy to keep them waiting.
Let's keep going to some questions.
Certainly.
Which presidents have advocated for isolationism, and how did it impact the USA and its relationship with the rest of the world? How have we recovered from it in the past? Can we recover from it this time?
Yeah. The last presidents really to advocate isolationism were the presidents of the 1920s, particularly Warren Harding and Calvin Coolidge, who rejected American participation in the League of Nations or any kind of binding international arrangements. Although I'm not sure they were strictly isolationists, because they nurtured and supported multilateral corporations, which proved to be beyond the control of any nation. But in terms of strategic and political obligations, the strongest isolationists were in the 1920s, and that spirit of isolationism, even though Franklin Roosevelt was elected in 1932, was no isolationist, prevailed through the 1930s. It really took Pearl Harbor. Sadly, the tragedy of Pearl Harbor and the greater tragedy of World War II that took over 60 million lives worldwide to break American isolationism and realize that our security, our democracy depended upon our involvement in the world.
All right, here he comes.
And the two oceans didn't insulate us.
Here he is, Dad. Now he's going to take 20 minutes just to walk down the aisle and shake everybody's hands, huh?
Probably won't be shaking AOC's hand, huh?
Probably not. You want another question, or do you want to watch this?
I don't need to watch this.
Okay. Do you see the UK really joining Ukraine in combat? If so, what will the ramifications be?
I don't see the UK putting boots on the ground to join Ukraine in combat. I do see the UK and nations of the European Union trying to provide essential military aid. But the truth is, you cannot replace the United States. Donald Trump has pulled the plug on a democratic nation, a sovereign nation, invaded by an aggressor who's committed atrocities and war crimes. The result is going to be more death and more civilian death. It is unconscionable. We have never seen anything remotely like this. This would be not comparable, but the closest analogy would be if America had listened to the America First movement in 1940 and 1941 and withdrawn aid to Great Britain in their resistance to Nazi aggression.
We got a question from Andrew Carlson. They say, Professor, would it help for Democrats to launch Project 2029, a blueprint for government reform? It could streamline public administration and restore an economic bill of rights focused on working families.
I support that wholeheartedly. I'm not sure I want to call it Project 2029, though, because that's, looks maybe a little bit too far in the future. Maybe we can ask for a catchier, more contemporary name for it. But this very smart audience member is right on. That's one of the many things the Democrats can do. Just to summarize some of the things you can do to protect your democracy. Talked about contacting your senators and representatives. Organize, vote, protest. Glenn Kirshner, a great legal mind, suggested you can even make bar complaints as an ordinary citizen. You don't have to be a lawyer in your state to Trump legal officials who are breaking the law or acting unethically. You can also support organizations like CREW or ACLU or the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights that are fighting Trump's anti-democratic initiatives. There are things that can be done by all of us.
All of us.
And don't be afraid to speak out. That's also incredibly important.
This is from Origins and Tall Tales. They said, we would like to ask what could replace democracy in the future. The country my husband hails from has an autocrat that's been in power for 20 years or not somehow. And we have a debate if democracy has given us such people as Germany's World War II leader, and now we have all these bad actors and hyper-partisanship. If democracy is that fragile, then what should humanity do next? No pressure, Dad. What should humanity do next?
Well, I just outlined 5 things that all of us can do to try to preserve our democracy. And perhaps the most important thing is to organize people to vote and vote. The only way you're going to preserve our democracy is to vote out the anti-democratic forces that now have an iron grip on our government. I don't
Trump.
think. All right. Remember, you're looking at the guy with the lowest approval rating of any early president in the modern history of the country. This is not a moment of triumph for him, no matter how you slice it.
How about I slice you?
Oh, no.
Thank you.
All right, come on, guys, let's go.
Notice it's only half the chamber, too.
Right.
It's not as if there is bipartisan enthusiasm for a president with
Thank you
An
very
approval
much.
rating under 50% when it should be his honeymoon period.
It's a great honor. Thank you very much. Speaker Johnson,
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Vice President Vance, the First Lady of the United States.
Oh, come on.
Oh, she's done a lot. Yeah, exemplary.
Didn't
First
they
Lady.
just intro her? You need to clap for her again.
Certainly, at least she's done as much as Eleanor Roosevelt, I would have to say. Although at the moment, I can't think of a single thing.
Members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back.
Oh, the speech is going to be like 5 hours.
Yeah, and you heard, you know, the 6 or 7 ways in which the first 6 weeks have been a disaster for America. Abroad, at home, in the economy, in the environment, in health, in research, in education, you name it, it's been a disaster.
6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age.
There it is, I told you.
From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country.
He doesn't exaggerate much, does he?
We've accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years. And
No,
we
the
are
most
just
destruction
getting
an administration
started.
has accomplished in 4 years. There's a difference.
True. And when you're willing to do whatever it takes to get your agenda through, it's not that hard to say you did a lot, you know?
Yeah.
When you don't work with Congress, when you don't work with judges, it's easy to say that, you know?
Right. If you can claim you can do anything you want,
I returned to
and
this
because you're
chamber
saving the
tonight to
country,
report
you're not bound by
that
law.
America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before.
God, even his loyalists have trouble
The
stomaching
American dream
these lies.
is unstoppable, and our country is
I
on
don't
the
know about
verge
that.
of a
You know, the
comeback, the
applause
likes
was
of
not
which
very
the world
enthusiastic
has
for
never
that.
witnessed and perhaps will never witness again.
Let's hope.
Never been anything like it. The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades.
False.
We won all 7
His
swing
was the
states,
narrowest
giving us
popular
an
vote
electoral
margin in
college
many
victory
decades.
of
You have to go back to
312 votes.
1968 to find a margin smaller than that. Biden had a much more robust mandate than he did. Barack Obama had a vastly more robust mandate than he did.
I guess maybe he's talking about the Electoral College.
Even in
We
the
won the
Electoral
popular
College,
vote
you know,
by
there
big
were
numbers
plenty of
and won
Electoral
counties in
College
our country.
victories post-World War II, or even going back to FDR, much greater than his. FDR won all but 2 states in 1936. Al Green, congressman from Texas. God, you could not see a more stark contrast, could you, on the 2 sides of the aisle. This is not a unified America.
And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican.
What?
What were the Democrats booing about? I missed that.
I missed that
Now, for
too.
the first time in modern history,
I think
more
the mandate.
Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction.
False.
It's an astonishing record.
A majority has now
27
turned
point
against
swing,
that.
The most ever.
Nothing is the most ever except all of the negative things we've talked about.
Likewise, small business optimism saw its single largest 1-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
This is kind of wild. What's happening right now?
It's crazy.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions.
Al Green again.
That's your warning.
I think he may have introduced an impeachment resolution already in the House.
Who, Green?
Al Green.
And the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
J.D. Vance is such a blowhard. I don't know. He's just so annoying. Yes, J.D. Vance, yes.
What did they call him? The Trump lapdog?
Yeah.
I don't, necessarily advocate what Al Green is doing.
No, not necessarily.
I don't think that's right. Let the guy talk. Let him lie.
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order.
What a SHIT show.
No kidding. Again, I do not advocate this. I think they should just have let him go. Don't you think?
What is he saying? He's saying you have no mandate? Is that what he's saying?
I can't tell. Something to that effect. I think he's saying no mandate.
Yeah.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House. Mr. President, you continue.
Thank you.
Yeah, have they followed decorum when it came to sacking thousands of federal employees for no reason? It's a little more serious.
A record to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it.
The way he said that was so strange.
It really
And I'm
was
doing
like he's
it.
deflated. It's not that was not delivered with the usual Trump bluster. Has he said anything truthful yet?
In fact, it has been stated by many
Not that I can
that
follow.
the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation.
Oh my God.
By many.
J.D. Vance came into. Oh, now he's clapping up there.
Yeah, forget about George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Roosevelt, Dwight Eisenhower, Ronald Reagan. It's Donald Trump.
Look at that. They were holding up.
Impressive is that
That's about as big a
You know who
lie as
number
any
two
he's
is?
ever delivered.
George Washington. How about that?
Oh, Jordan.
Yeah,
I
see?
don't know about that list, but
He's
I
top
will
George.
take
Well,
it.
of course he has.
Within hours of
He's the
taking
king.
the oath of
George
office,
Washington
I declared
refused to be a
national
king.
Emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and border patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever.
False. Not the lowest ever.
No?
But everything Trump does is the greatest ever, the best ever. Forget about any other president. What he's done exceeds them all.
Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my
There were
God.
hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from
False.
mental institutions and insane asylums.
Undocumented immigrants
were
are the most
released
law-abiding
into our country.
segment of
Who
our
would want to do
society
that?
because they don't
This is my
want to
fifth
get
such
involved with
speech
law
to
enforcement.
Congress.
Every
And
study
once again,
supports
I
that.
look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I
Actually,
could
there would be a
find
lot
cure
you could
to
do,
the
but
most
you've never done any of it.
devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people
False.
sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad.
Now he's whining.
Shouldn't be this
that doesn't
way.
become him.
He always does that kind of personal grievances thing. He's always like, "Oh, they won't clap. They hate me. They're so rude." You know, he's always doing that stuff to reporters and stuff.
And believe me, lots of other presidents have had bipartisan
of course
support. Not fully, but at least to some extent.
For just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
And he's done nothing to reach across to the Democrats to work together. Just the opposite.
True.
They've threatened to imprison them, their leaders.
Every day, my administration is fighting to deliver the change America needs to bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid.
Thank you. I hear the thank yous coming from Russia and China loud and clear. America doesn't give the foreign aid. We'll be right in there.
I terminated the ridiculous Green New Scam. I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate Accord, which was costing us trillions of dollars that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council.
Yes, can you imagine being for human rights?
No, they're anti-American.
Oh, right.
Right.
Because that would interfere with what Musk is doing, which violates all basic human rights.
And totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic
I'm not certain about this,
destruction.
but I don't believe there was an electrical vehicle requirement or mandate, just encouragement.
Right, of course. That's the same thing with DEI. They claim there's some DEI mandate in the government.
There is no such thing. And he interprets DEI to include anything that advances civil rights. That's DEI. They've shut down all civil rights, women's rights enforcement. Ronald Reagan, supposedly the Republican icon, was vigorous in his enforcement of the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act.
No other president had done before. We ordered all federal workers to return to the office. They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job.
Yes, from what I've read, they've come back to offices without equipment, without Wi-Fi, clogging the roads, adding to pollution. And the studies show hybrid work is actually at least as efficient or more efficient than work solely in the office.
How did that work out? Not too good.
I missed that.
Me too. You're talking.
Oh, I got to talk.
Yeah.
Otherwise, might as well just watch it.
Right. There's Jamie.
Yep.
And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back
The
free
opposite.
speech in America.
Yeah, right, bro.
Right, the opposite. We've never seen so much censorship. DEI, so-called critical race theory, now quote-unquote illegal protests.
2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America.
Thank God. Thank God.
Now, all those people who speak other languages are not going to be able to get voting information and other information that they've been getting for many decades.
Gulf of America.
That's all it does.
And likewise, I renamed for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again.
Who cares, dude?
Yes, and McKinley at best
Beautiful.
is a C+, B- president.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion
Tyranny
policies all
of
across
DEI.
the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military.
But we're for free speech, even though we're cracking down on what the private sector is doing.
Our country will be woke no longer.
I guarantee you 90% plus of Republicans have no idea what woke means.
We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender.
You are.
Yes, and he's appointed the least skillful, the least competent, the least qualified, the least experienced cabinet and high government officials in the history of the country. That is the one thing, yes, that no other president has ever done.
Powerful decision has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools. And
But we have free
an order
speech.
making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
But people are free to express themselves.
Right.
I mean, I almost don't need to comment.
Right.
This is so self-evidently
I also signed
absurd.
an
Right.
executive
All you gotta
order
do is listen to
ban
it.
Men from playing in women's sports. Three years ago, Peyton McNabb was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side, and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team, or they will lose all federal funding. And if you really want to see numbers, just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman.
In
For a
all
new
those
record
sports.
by
What?
5 hours.
That was totally, he named 6 sports. And that's, one supposed male finished 5 hours ahead. And which of those sports was that? And swimming?
5 hours? What race could it have
There was no such race.
What race could be 5 hours ahead?
No such. He just makes these things up. Of all the problems facing the nation, what has he spent most time on?
Trans issues.
Trans issues.
Yeah.
I guarantee you 99.999% of Republicans have never in their lives been harmed by a transgender.
It happened. Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare.
What did they inherit from you?
Policies drove up energy prices,
Rising
pushed up
prices,
grocery
plunging
costs,
consumer
and
confidence,
drove the
tanking
necessities of
markets,
life out of
trade
reach for
wars,
millions and
rising
millions of
unemployment
Americans.
claims.
They've
Other than
never
that,
had
it's
anything
been
like
great.
it. We suffered the
don't
worst
know why
inflation
the-
in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history
Subtitles
of our
aren't
country.
coming
They're
on.
not sure.
Oh,
As
once
president,
again, it's
I'm
the best
fighting
in the
every day
history of the
to
country.
reverse this damage and make America affordable again.
I'm going to see if I can get another stream
Mohawk
with
PureTech Planet.
What are you trying to get?
CC for another stream.
Oh, I can hear him.
I know, but for the audience.
Oh, right. Good idea.
No CC. Weird.
It is weird.
All right, whatever.
And we're working hard to get it back down. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job.
So this is typical Trump MO. Anything good is his doing. Anything bad is someone else.
Right.
You know, Biden, Obama, George Washington, Franklin Roosevelt, anyone.
The previous administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many
All
of
a
those
huge lie.
power plants right
Under
now.
Biden, America had produced more energy than in the history of the country. It was a boom in energy, which some of us didn't really like. But, you know, Trump is again lying.
Seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency.
There was no emergency.
As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill.
Yeah, drill, baby, drill. Welcome to droughts, floods, wildfires, hurricanes, melting glaciers, rising sea levels. That's what Trump's drill, and burning more fossil fuels, putting more CO2 in the air is going to promise us. Talk about losing money. These disasters already have cost the nation hundreds of billions of dollars.
Never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA.
Okay. Folks, don't forget there's 1,700 people watching, only 600 likes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, become a member today.
We will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but will be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars.
You know, the supposed waste in dollars that Musk has saved, it's all made up. For example, he claimed an $8 billion saving from canceling an $8 million program, and that reverberates throughout. And, you know, you fire someone, you don't save anything. They're not going to be paying taxes. They're not going to be spending money in their community. They're going to be getting unemployment compensation. There are going to be negative reverberations. For example, you're going to lose a lot of tax dollars by firing the IRS employees, and you're risking a nuclear disaster by firing those responsible for keeping our nuclear weapons safe. This idea of big savings by these crazy firings is another fabrication.
Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion.
Is that the best he can do out of a $7 trillion budget?
Burma, yeah.
$8 million to promote LGBTQI+.
No, to protect people from predators.
$60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment. in Central America, $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender.
What?
You can't trust any of this stuff. I mean, we can't fact check it,
right,
because it's so specific. But people have fact checked all of these purported savings, and they are enormously exaggerated. They haven't touched even the edges of a nearly $7 trillion federal budget, and what they're doing may cost them. And then he's going to blow a hole in the deficit with a $4 trillion proposed tax cut.
Decarbonization of Homes Committee headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her?
Stacey Abrams, isn't she
a $3.5 million
private citizen
consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring, $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia, $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, $59 million
Mali?
for
Mali?
alien
who knows
Mali?
in New York
What he's
City.
probably talking about is some kind of aid programs in these other countries, which have worked. Marco Rubio, his Secretary of State, just recently lauded what aid was doing abroad and how it promoted America's national interest because it expanded our soft power and kept out China and Russia. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Procurement in Serbia, $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. You know what we're doing.
But don't you think some Americans are watching this and they're saying, I don't want my money going to this stuff, even if he is exaggerating, even if he is cherry picking stuff?
He's not just cherry picking. I think he's misrepresenting all this stuff.
Right.
This is what they've always. I can't prove that because how would I possibly drill down, and I don't even know what programs he's referring to.
Right. Yeah.
They're not by those names.
Right.
Intelligent,
But even if you put them
mostly
all
young people.
together, it's maybe a few $1 billion out of a nearly $7 trillion budget. One of the most reviled men in America, Elon Musk. His approval rating is down in the low 30% range. A guy who's ruining people's lives, who's laden with conflicts of interest, who has no concern for the human costs of what he's doing.
We got it just in time. This is just the beginning. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it.
I never heard of such a thing.
We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and
made-up
probable fraud
number.
in the Social Security program.
Yeah, I never heard of such a thing. I think it's another made-up number. Trump regards as fraud any program he doesn't like. That's what this is all about, not real waste and fraud.
100 to 109 years old.
That was all debunked.
Right. I swear that was.
That I know was debunked.
Yeah.
There have been a number of studies about that. That's totally debunked.
I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129.
Debunked again. That's a falsehood.
People from ages 130 to 139.
No one that age is getting Social Security. No one.
No one that age is alive.
Is alive. It's just a clerical thing. It's not any disbursement of money. This has been debunked time and time again, and I can believe that he just, blatantly is fabricating this.
To people, because it just keeps getting paid and nobody does, and it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150
Is he just going to go through this list for like 10
over.
minutes of just lists of things
that are all false?
According to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier
Notice he's
country
not
than I
getting
thought,
much of a
Bobby.
response to this. Even the Republicans know what a lie this is.
Right.
Think he's going to talk about the measles outbreak?
Probably not.
Including, to finish, 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229.
I can't believe he's going on with this lie.
240 and 249, and one person is listed at 360 years of age. More than 100 years.
Oh, gee, Vance, lapdog. Eat it up. Are we going to go into eating pets next?
But we're going to find out where that money's going. And it's not
not
going to
going
be pretty.
anywhere.
By slashing all of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find, we will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families.
How long has it been going?
It's 9:50.
And today,
so maybe
interest
40
rates,
minutes.
It's just getting warmed up.
Drop, big, beautiful drop. It's about time. And in the near future, I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance.
Oh, with his $4 trillion tax cut. Yeah. That'll do it. Of course. If I were to balance the federal budget, the first thing I would do would be to launch a $4 trillion deficit hole tax cut, with most of it going to the rich. He said the same thing during his first term. And what happened to the deficit, Sam? Whoop! It exploded.
Which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship.
Yeah, welcome Russian oligarchs.
Right, yeah.
And more sophisticated.
I'm sure they're going to create just tons of jobs.
These people will have to pay tax in our country.
No, he repealed the job-creating program. You could have come in if you had invested in the creation of jobs in poor communities. He abolished that. Now it's just pay up. You don't have to create a single job.
Being forced out, number one at the top school as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed.
This is the most antagonistic address to Congress since Trump's first term. No other president engages in this kind of antagonism. And he blames the Democrats for not working with him? Claiming, they let in killers and murderers and rapists, all of which is totally false.
Given us a mandate for bold and profound change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown until it has crushed our freedoms, ballooned our deficits, and held back.
Another bold-faced lie. How much has the federal bureaucracy grown in the last 50 years? None. Zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
Millions of pages of regulations and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get, instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you reject it.
Pile of nonsense again.
Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again.
I've seen a lot of presidents, with whom I disagree. Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush. And yet, when I listened to their speeches, there were aspects, that I respected, that I could agree with, that I thought were reasonable. I haven't heard one word here. Not one.
Draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over. And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that.
Oh, yes, Trump the magnanimous, helping out the Democrats, of course. I couldn't make this up. I could not make this up.
Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board. And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation, I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
That is about, a small percentage of the tax cut. He throws that out to make it look like he's helping out ordinary Americans. 90% plus of the tax cut have nothing to do with that. They're going to the corporations and the richest taxpayers.
Made in America.
And plus, those are never going to pass anyway through the Republicans.
And by the way, we're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and tariffs. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will allow our auto industry to absolutely boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all three.
The leaders of the auto industry have
so
decried the taxes, saying we get so many parts from so many different countries. It's a composite effort, and it's just going to raise our costs.
New plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world. And this has taken place since our great victory on November 5th, a date which will hopefully go down as one of the most important in the history of our country.
He's very modest, isn't he? Yeah.
In addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025. And it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country.
If he had the most successful first term in the history of the country, how come he lost re-election?
Good question.
And lost the popular vote by 7 million, whereas he only won it this time by a couple of million?
Good question.
In some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice.
I didn't notice he's imposed any tariffs on India.
South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways.
I can't fact check all this,
but that's what happened.
I'm sure most of it's false.
Right.
So this system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But
he's
we're
really
going
funny.
to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us.
Yes, he calls them reciprocal tax cuts. But what are they really, Sam? Trade war. When was the last big trade war?
Smoot-Hawley
tariffs, which destroyed the world economy, greatly deepened and prolonged the Depression.
Market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before.
How many times has he used that expression, never seen before?
It's
all
drinking straight from the jug, huh?
Straight from the jug, yeah.
We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth. And
poor U.S. being ripped off by everybody else. Can you imagine? He was president for 4 years. Why didn't he stop the ripoff?
Good question.
Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of
They have not allowed fentanyl to come into our country. That is nonsensical.
Anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer.
Do you have any idea what those hundreds of billions of dollars of subsidies that we pay to Mexico and Canada are?
Again, he takes a grain of truth, and there's probably something that we do in that
Probably,
sense.
but hundreds of billions of dollars?
I have no idea, obviously.
The combination of the election and our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won.
Of course not.
Apple
Nothing good would have happened except for me.
$500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in the USA.
I can't fact check any of this, obviously.
Right.
I guarantee it's all exaggerated.
And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars, and it doesn't mean a thing. They take our money and they don't spend it. All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming. We don't have to give them money. We just want to protect our businesses and our people. And they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's very amazing. You should get rid of the CHIP Act. No. And whatever's left over, Mr. Speaker, you should use it to reduce debt or any other reason you want to.
Has he been going for an hour yet?
Yep. Well, he was late.
Yeah, it's close, 50 minutes. He hasn't even gotten into foreign policy yet.
Oh, God.
Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer.
Farmers are screaming their agony over what he's doing.
That's such a weird way to say it. I love the farmer.
Market, the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you. Because there's goods that come in from other countries and companies. They're really in a bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and
whatever that noise is,
and they come in and they pour in.
I don't know what
they
it
hurt
is.
our American farmers. The tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers, starting on April 2nd, it may be a little bit of an adjustment period, We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again, and this will be even better. That was great. The problem with it was that Biden didn't enforce it. He didn't enforce it. $50 billion of purchases, and we were doing great, but Biden did not enforce it, and it hurt our farmers. But our farmers are going to have a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you too. I love you too. It's all going to happen.
The tariffs are a disaster for farmers.
And I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel, because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military, and frankly, we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama. Jeff Denard has been working at the same steel plant for 27 years in a job that has allowed him to serve as the captain of his local volunteer fire department, raise 7 children with his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
You did it.
I did it.
Thank
What
you,
was
Jeff.
it?
I'll tell you after.
Still hasn't gotten a foreign policy, and we're now pretty much close to an hour in.
Not
How
just
long do you
about
think it's gonna go?
protecting American jobs.
Could go an hour and a half.
They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America
looking
rich
for?
again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. No, you're not. Oh. And look where Biden took us. Very low, the lowest we've ever been. Jeff, I want to thank you very much.
We had a Great Depression.
Right.
We had a World War.
Right.
We had a Civil War.
Right.
But Biden was the worst, put us in the worst position ever.
A very loving person, our magnificent First Lady of the United States.
Still trying to figure out one thing she's ever done.
The anti-bullying campaign.
Oh, right, okay. How far did that go? That's in 4 years
Melania's
plus.
work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by 2 impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education, become a teacher. And Elliston Berry, who became a victim of an illicit deepfake image produced by a peer.
Kigo.
With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Stand up, John.
Thank you, Nana J.
you,
Blizz,
John.
for your donation.
I'm starting to blear out.
I know, I'm starting to blear out too.
It's been an hour, and it's been nothing but self-congratulations.
Thank you.
How much of this can anyone take?
And thank you to John Thune and the Senate. Great job. To criminalize the publication of such images online is terrible, terrible thing. And once it passes the House, I look forward
Terrible
to
images.
signing
Trump
that
has
bill
posted
into
images
law.
of his opponents being
I'm gonna use that
hogtied
bill for myself,
on the
too,
back
if you don't
of a
mind.
truck, of being
'Cause nobody gets
smashed
treated worse than I
down.
do online. Nobody.
But he's against terrible
Great.
images.
Thank you very much to the Senate. Thank you. But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers,
lies,
gang members, and other
lies.
criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world.
I'll take him out.
Because of
You
Joe
got it?
Biden's
I got it.
insane and very dangerous open border
Get
policies.
Mom to take 'em.
They are now strongly
all right, I
embedded
can
in our country. but we are getting them out and getting them out fast. And I want to thank Tom Homan and Christy. I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done. Everybody, Border Patrol, ICE, well, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to.
He wants to take care of our law enforcement, but he pardoned those who injured over 140 Capitol
A brilliant 22-year-old nursing student named Laken Riley, the best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was
This is
arrested while
demagoguery
trespassing
of the
across
worst
Biden's
kind.
open
There
southern
are
border,
scores of
and then set
murders
loose into
every
the
single
United
day
States
in
under
America.
the
You could
heartless
single out
policies of that
anyone,
failed
including,
administration.
white
Was indeed a
native-born
failed
Christians
administration.
for murders. The
He had
truth
then
is,
been
undocumented immigrants
arrested
have
and
the
released
lowest
in a
crime rate by
Democrat-run
far
sanctuary city,
of
a
any
disaster,
group in this
before ending the
country,
life of his
including
beautiful young
native-born Americans. This
With us
is
this
just
evening, our Laken's beloved
scapegoating
mother,
and
Allison, and her
demagoguery.
sister, Lauren. Last year, I told Laken's grieving parents that we would ensure their daughter would not have died in vain. That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act. It's called the Laken-Riley Act. So Allison and Lauren, America will never, ever forget our beautiful Laken Hope Riley. Thank you very much. Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history, and we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. Thank you.
We're now over an hour, and he's repeating himself time and time again.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
I can't fact check all these border statistics, but I do know that under Biden in his last year, border crossings were as low or lower than they were in Trump's first term.
Borders, he flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America. But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungari from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are 2 illegal alien monsters from Venezuela.
This is truly sickening to single out these individual crimes. There are something on the order of 23,000 murders every year in America, a minuscule fraction of them committed by undocumented immigrants, way under 1%. And yet he would have you believe that America is under a murderous siege by undocumented immigrants by bringing out these individual anecdotes. You can bring them out for any group in America, including people who look exactly like Donald Trump and of Donald Trump's heritage. This is demagoguery of the worst order.
A pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would,
God, he's just exploiting these people shamelessly. We have had virtually a mass shooting every day in America. How many of them were committed by undocumented immigrants?
None.
None.
Jocelyn and Lakin's murders were members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang, they say, in the world, known as Tren de Aragua. 2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations.
So we're an hour and 10 minutes. He still hasn't gotten a foreign policy.
Yikes.
Do you think there's much left of an audience out there in America?
No.
It can't be.
They are now officially in the same category as ISIS, and that's not good for them. Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration.
False,
now every last
defamatory.
One will be rounded up and forcibly removed from our country.
Truly
or,
engaging in defamation, not just political talk.
Standing trial in this country.
To say, Biden welcomed in violent, murderous gang people.
With us this evening is a warrior on the front lines of that battle. Border Patrol Agent Roberto Ortiz.
Always exploiting another.
In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When heavily armed...
I'm supposed to follow these things and comment on them. I'm blearing out.
He likes to just go on these lists and sort of these one-off examples, just these long one-off examples and lists, and it's just it's boring.
You can prove anything in the world by one-off examples. I said, 25,000 or so murders every year. You can prove anything by one-off examples. We're a country of over 330 million. You can find examples of anything.
Thank you, Roberto, very much. Thank you, Roberto. And I actually got to know him on my many calls to the border. He's a great, great gentleman. The territory to the immediate south of our border is now dominated entirely by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national
Mexico
security.
may have something to say about that.
The
What do you
cartels are
think?
waging war in America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we are doing.
Oh, a new war on drugs, Sam. Just what we need. The war on drugs for 60 years has been so successful.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Because of our tariff policies being imposed on them, think of this, handed over to us 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. That has never happened before. They want to make us happy. First time ever. But we need Mexico and Canada to do much more than they've done, and they have to stop the fentanyl and drugs pouring.
How much fentanyl comes in from Canada, Sam?
Like 1% or something?
Exactly. Virtually none.
Request laying out exactly how we will eliminate these threats to protect our homeland and complete the largest deportation.
Why didn't he stop all these drug deaths for 4 years?
He'll say he did, and then Biden came in.
Not true. The numbers don't bear that
I'm just telling you what he'll say.
Of course, that's what he'll say. Everything bad was caused by Biden. Everything good came about from him.
Right.
Mr. Speaker, John Thune, both of you, I hope you're going to be able to do that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Leader, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's get it to me. I'll sign it so fast, you won't even believe it.
You know, it's ironic that Trump is attacking these undocumented immigrants who are overwhelmingly law-abiding. And he is a 34-count convicted felon. He is civilly found to have committed massive financial fraud. He is civilly found to have sexually abused, defamed, and hurt a woman. His Trump organization was found to be a criminal enterprise, and yet here he is spouting all of this law and order and attacking an entire people as though they were all murderers and killers. Talking about having never seen anything like that before in America.
Restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law, starting at the FBI and the DOJ,
Sam?
Pam.
I thought he said he was above the rule of law because he was saving the country.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Good luck. So important. Going to do a great job. Cash, thank you. Thank you, Cash.
Totally unqualified to be FBI head. Talk about merit.
Fantastic job. You're going to be very proud of them. We're also once again giving our police officers the support, protection, and respect they so dearly deserve. They have to get it. They have such a hard, dangerous job.
Ask those injured police officers from the January 6th insurrection.
Starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen and women are unbelievable people, and we'll never forget them. And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice.
According to Trump, everyone voted for him in record numbers, including young people who voted overwhelmingly for Harris.
New York police officer Jonathan Diller, unbelievably wonderful person and a great officer, was gunned down at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to his funeral. The vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests.
Yes.
And they were...
Did he go to the funeral of any of those who died as a result of the January 6th insurrection, directly or indirectly?
I don't believe so.
No.
He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer Diller's service, and when I met his wife and one-year-old son, Ryan, it was very inspirational, actually. His widow's name is Stephanie, and she is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you very much.
Where's Ivanka?
What do you mean?
Why isn't she there?
She is.
I didn't see her. She's there?
Yeah, she had a whole intro.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
Stephanie, we're going to make sure that Ryan knows his dad was a true hero, New York's finest, and we're going to get these cold-blooded killers and repeat offenders off our streets, so we're going to do it fast. Got to stop it. They get out with 28 arrests. They push people into subway trains. They hit people over the head, back of the head with baseball bats. We got to get them out of here. I've already signed an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer. And tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law.
Again, the data shows the death penalty does not deter crime. That will do nothing.
I'm also asking for a new crime bill getting tough on repeat offenders while enhancing protections for America's police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of their lives being totally destroyed. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed. Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police.
How many one-off examples is he going to go through?
Yeah. He's what, an hour and 20 minutes into it? Still hasn't gotten a foreign policy.
Oh, God.
And you notice the contrast between the almost all-white Republican delegation there, and most of his examples are people of color.
Are they?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess a good amount of them
these
were.
people, the ICE officer, a couple of others, yes.
Right. A lot of women, too.
Yeah. And if you look at the Republicans out there, it's a sea of old, middle-aged white men.
Right.
DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer.
In fact, I didn't see.
The doctors gave
I saw maybe
him 5
one
months
or
at
two
most
black people
to live.
among that entire
That was
Republican
more than 6
delegation.
years ago.
Maybe 3. This is so shameful, exploiting these people.
This one isn't that shameful. I mean, it's a kid with brain.
Yeah, but the point is, he's been doing this throughout. You know, maybe if they'd done 1 or 2 examples that are, you know, legitimate, but what is this now, 7 or 8, including some which are just outrageous.
I mean, this is probably the most tame one, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
Love him. The police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Wow. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, but, you know, look what it followed.
Right.
You know, most State of the Unions, as I said, even from presidents I fundamentally disagree with, were respectful, substantive, informative. This is a campaign rally.
Well, it's not a State of the Union, technically.
I know, but it is.
Yeah.
Everyone understands that it is.
Right.
It's addressed to the joint
Right.
session of Congress, which is equivalent to the State of the Union. I know it's not technically, but it's the equivalent.
His doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger. Since 1975, rates of child cancer have increased by more than 40%. Reversing this trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again.
Oh, my God.
Our new
You've got to be kidding. They have frozen funds for cancer research. RFK Jr. is a purveyor of quack science that cures nothing. And they have eliminated that federal agency that controls pollution of poor and minority neighborhoods. It's associated with cancer. They cut that out. They cut out those protections.
To get toxins out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago, and you can't even believe these numbers.
No, we can't believe your numbers.
1,000 children.
That's right. First
autism.
truthful thing he said.
And now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong. 1 in 36. Think of that. So we're going to find out what it
1
is.
in
And there's
36,
nobody
what?
better
I
than
missed
it.
Bobby
I missed it too.
And all of
Yeah.
the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby? Good luck. It's a very important job. Thank
Is
you.
he talking about autism, maybe?
Cancer.
It can't be 1 in 36.
For cancer?
It's not one. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure he made it up like everything else. I didn't quite catch it.
My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago,
my God.
January, Little John and her husband discovered
People said
that
he
their
was talking
daughter's
about
school
autism.
had secretly
Yeah, that's-
socially transitioned their
It is not
13-year-old
1 in 36
little girl.
kids that are autistic.
Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January.
Well, that's one of the
who is here tonight and
real
is now a
challenges
courageous
that's really
advocate
hurting America,
against this
people choosing
form
their
of child
pronouns.
Abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We're now almost an hour and a half.
That's quite a name. January Little John.
Yeah, really.
Jeez. That's like out of a Mark Twain novel or something.
No kidding. It's a great name.
Thank you. Stories like this are why, shortly after taking office, I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children.
Didn't he already
with
talk about this? Why is he going back to this?
ideology.
Repeated himself so many times. And he's almost at an hour and a half.
I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth.
I presume when he says sexual mutilization, he means gender-affirming surgery,
Yes.
not people's, private parts being cut off.
Right.
Forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie.
Yeah, one of our
Chatters.
chat said, "Who the hell cares about pronouns?"
Every child in America is that you are
Well, I mean,
As if that's a big problem facing the country.
Right. I mean, some people care, but yeah, that doesn't.
People who care are the people who want to use them.
Right.
They don't hurt anyone else.
Right. There's January Little John.
Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out, and it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better?
Sure, every American is waking up this morning saying, "I feel better because wokeness is gone." I have no idea what it is, but I know it's gone.
They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight
You're a funny guy.
for our country.
I try.
And Pete, congratulations.
I'm just so exhausted at this
I
point.
know.
Congratulations.
He hasn't mentioned Russia. He hasn't mentioned
No.
Ukraine. He hasn't mentioned China. He hasn't mentioned Iran. and we're an hour and a half into it.
And he's not.
This is like a Fidel
woke
Castro
movement,
speech. It's the only thing I can compare it to.
I am pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history of our services.
Of course, it's always the best in the history. He throws out so many lies. You can't fact check them.
And you know,
it's impossible. I mean, I can fact check some of the biggest ones.
Where the results were exactly the opposite. We couldn't recruit anywhere. We couldn't recruit. Now we're having the best results just about that we've ever had. What a tremendous turnaround. It's really a beautiful thing to see. People love our country again. It's very simple. They love our country, and they love being in our military again. So it's a great thing, and thank you very much. Great job. Thank you.
I've got to
We're joined tonight
fact check that.
by a young man, Jason Hartley, who knows the weight of that
Can you
Call
check
of Duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad, who was also a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy when he was just a boy, and now he wants to carry on the family legacy of service. Jason is a senior in high school,
Oh, God,
a
he's
six-letter
exploiting
varsity
another
athlete,
poor
a really
person.
good athlete, they say, a brilliant student with a 4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point.
Here it says, here's the truth. December 2024 was the most productive month for the U.S. Army, not in history, but in the 50 years. But the positive trend began before the election. But of course, listen to him, you'd think Biden killed recruitment. I can't even follow this.
This guy just got accepted to West Point.
All right, so what? An hour and 30 some odd minutes into the speech, that's what we're focusing on.
He lost his father. I don't know.
All right, you know, he's exploiting all these people.
But
you
Democrats
can find anything.
But Democrats do the same thing.
Yeah, and I call them out when they do it, but not to this
Jason,
extent.
you're going to be on the long gray line, Jason.
Never seen anything like this before.
As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland.
Okay, maybe now he's going to start getting into
maybe
foreign policy and domestic military issues.
This sounds like Star Wars all over again. I thought we're saving money and cutting the budget, but now he wants to spend all this money building the military.
Long ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even close. But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually. And other places they have it. Israel has it. Other places have it. And the United States should have it too, right, Tim, right? They should have it too. So I want to thank you, but it's a very, very important. This is a
I think even the Republicans are getting weary. You know, get nearly as much
and we're going to
applause
protect our
or standing
citizens like never before.
Oh, like never before. I haven't heard that phrase.
Industrial base, we are also going to resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding. And for that purpose, I am announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry
more holes in the deficit.
It says that the average is typically around an hour.
Very much.
They range between 50 and 90 minutes.
I think 90 minutes is the longest, and he's right at 90 minutes and still hasn't touched foreign policy.
My administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it.
Oh, here's going to go about Greenland and Panama.
Greenland and Panama, right. But, you know, we're cutting expenditures, but we're going to engage in all these military operations, spend hundreds of billions buying green land.
And lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others. But others could use it.
I thought it was built on Panamanian territory.
At tremendous cost of
Trump thinks all of the world is America.
38,000 workers
no, all the world is his.
Building the Panama Canal. They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1, but that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
China does not own the Panama Canal.
And we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong. Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job. Think of it. He got 100 votes. You know, he was approved with actually 99, but the 100th was this gentleman, and I feel very certain. So let's assume he got 100 votes. And I'm either very, very happy about that or I'm very concerned about it. But he's already proven. I mean, he's a great gentleman. He's respected by everybody, and we appreciate you voting for Marco. He's going to do a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you. He's doing a great job. Great job. And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future.
Just a whole litany of fact checks.
We welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep
Trump
you
has
safe.
the worst relationship with our allies of any president in the modern history of the country.
You have never thought possible before. It's a very small population, but very, very large piece of land and very, very important for military security. America is once again standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing.
Countless others besides the 13 Americans?
Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our
no
country.
Lie.
Tonight I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
I have no way to fact check that.
Right.
But I have my suspicions. Based on everything else
and
he
I
said.
want to thank especially the government of Pakistan for helping arrest this monster. This was a very momentous day for those 13 families who I actually got to know very well, most of them, whose children were murdered, and the many people that were so badly, over 42 people, so badly injured on that fateful day in Afghanistan. What a horrible day. Such incompetence.
What Trump, of course, isn't telling you is it was his giveaway of the country to the Taliban during his administration that led to the withdrawal, as bad as it was in its optics.
I spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and they did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy, as happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister, son, daughter was killed for no reason whatsoever. In the Middle East, we're bringing back our hostage.
One of our chat agreed it was Trump that planned the withdrawal. Absolutely. The withdrawal was based on Trump's policy, but he'll never tell you that.
Abraham Accords. And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People have been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict.
Not even close.
With no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense.
False.
With no security, with no anything.
Almost all the money and the military aid was about $66 billion was spent in the U.S. It was not money, hundreds of billions handed over to Ukraine.
You would say Pocahontas says yes. $2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans, but I want it to stop. Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. Think of that.
The Europeans have spent as much, or maybe a shade more, on Ukraine than the U.S.
$350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened.
We haven't spent close to $350 billion for Ukraine. And as I said, it's a fraction of that, and most of it's spent in the U.S. for weapons that then went to Ukraine.
With them, and lots of good things are happening. Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said at some point, come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us. But that didn't happen. Earlier today,
all that is false. All these numbers are wrong. Every one of them.
Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Yeah, Putin is so beautiful. He invaded Ukraine gratuitously, cost not millions, but certainly hundreds of thousands of lives, committed war crimes and atrocities, and now Trump is depending on Putin's word that he's not going to go back into Ukraine or engage in any other aggressive actions. You know, we haven't seen this kind of concession to a foreign, bloody dictator before, perhaps in the history of the country. You got to go back to the Munich agreement between Adolf Hitler and Neville Chamberlain for this degree of appeasement.
14 years in a penal colony, rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine,
is he done with foreign policy? That was it?
I don't know.
Just a few minutes? Nothing about
After
China?
22 days in
Nothing
office,
I
about
think he's
Iran?
just using anecdotes
And they are
now,
here
personal
tonight.
anecdotes about foreign issues.
I just can't follow any more of these exploiting of these people.
She looks pretty good for 95.
Yeah, well, what's the point of this one?
I missed it.
Yeah.
Maybe they traded him or something.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, he was someone that, as if Biden never brought anyone home from Russia. He brought quite a few home from Russia. But of course, only Trump does these things, including Brittany Griner.
To Mark and his great mom, we are delighted to have you safe and sound and with us. As fate would have it, Mark Fogel was born in a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it? Where his mother has lived for the past 78 years. I just happened to go there last July 13th for a rally. That was not pleasant. And that is where I met his beautiful mom right before I walked onto that stage. And I told her I would not forget what she said about her son. And I never did I? Never forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound. Corey knew instantly what it was and what to do.
10:51.
He
Oh
threw
my God.
himself
We're
on
gonna hit
top
2
of
hours.
his
We're
wife
close
and
to it.
daughters and shielded them from the bullets with his own body.
And how much substance was there in these
Corey
2
was
hours?
hit
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Could have been 10 minutes.
This is a sad story, though.
There are lots of sad stories.
Right.
But thankfully, with the help of 2 great country doctors, we thought they were gone and they were saved. So those doctors had great talent. We're joined by Corey's wife, Helen,
He's just
who was
exploiting
his high
these
school
people.
sweetheart,
It
and their
sickens
2
me.
beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank
You
you.
really think he cares about them? Any more than he cares about the people who died as a result of January 6th, or the 140 that were injured? Does he ever mention them? He only wants to use people as props. Haha, he could have put this speech in an email.
To Helen, Allison, and
Absolutely.
Kaylee, Corey is looking
He
down
cares
on
nothing about
his 3
this
beautiful
story.
ladies
Just
right
wants to
now,
use as a ploy.
and he is cheering
Very smart
you on.
audience
He
we
loves
have.
you. He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the selfless devotion of a true American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever before. I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America
God.
great again. I believe
Chosen
that.
of God.
The family's clapping.
Well, sure. Bring them, to this kind of prominence. What do you think they're going to do? Saved by God. This is a guy who held the Bible upside down. That's how little he, has religiosity.
Thank you very much. From the patriots of Lexington and Concord to the heroes of...
Joe Schmo says he's distracting people from his horrific agenda with these sob stories. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, our audience is really right on, you know. You don't even need me. They have it. They get it.
Americans have always been people who defied all odds, transcended all dangers.
Yeah, where is the compassion for those people who he's fired, who can't pay their kids' medical bills, who are struggling to feed their kids, who are struggling to pay their rent and their mortgage? You know, where's the compassion for people who he directly has hurt, as opposed to all of these other people he had nothing to do with?
Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation.
Sounds like he's wrapping it up.
That will always be free.
So essentially nothing on foreign policy.
I mean, there was a little bit.
A little bit,
but
to our almost nothing.
Beloved country.
Nothing of any import.
Because we are a country of doers, dreamers, fighters, and survivors. Our ancestors crossed a vast ocean, strode into the unknown wilderness, and carved their fortunes from the rock
the
and soil.
Unknown wilderness. There were millions of Native Americans in this wilderness.
Frontier.
True.
Oh, my God.
They chased our destiny across a boundless continent. They built the railroads, laid the highways, and graced the world.
Who built those railroads, Sam?
Chinese.
Like the Empire State Building, the mighty
to a great extent.
Hoover Dam.
In fact, who built most of America? Chinese, Asians,
they lit the world with
enslaved Africans, and immigrants.
A lot of Mexican, Central Americans,
and a lot of Latin Americans.
Vanquished the communists, fascists, and Marxists all over the world, and gave us countless modern wonders sculptured out of iron, glass, and steel. We stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who won and built the modern age. These workers who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities. These warriors who shed their blood on fields of battle and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. Now it is our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty. And it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to...
One of our shrewd audience members says he's filibustering to put the Democratic response so late that no one will ever listen to it.
I didn't think about that.
I hadn't either. We have a very smart audience.
To create the highest
Do we want to watch that or
no?
I think I've had it.
Yeah, we don't need
I'll take 2 or 3 questions, though.
Okay. Let's
communities
see.
anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we're going to lead humanity into space. And
he just said he's going to, advance the frontiers of science, and he just froze grants for scientific research. He's just gutted scientific agencies like NOAA, National Oceanic and Aeronautic Administration. All of this for illusory savings, as I analyzed before. You're not going to save hardly anything from firing people who won't be paying taxes, won't be spending money, will be collecting unemployment insurance, won't be doing jobs like at the IRS that brings in money.
Thank you, Wendy, for the donation. Appreciate that.
Oh, thanks. Keep those donations coming. We need them.
Yep. This is my full-time job now.
I think and we deserve negotiations for sitting for almost 2 hours.
Seriously.
And listening to this campaign rally.
Seriously.
My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before.
Oh, imagine that. Nothing that's ever been seen. We haven't heard that before, have we?
No.
Forget about every other president.
Dems are leaving.
As for good reason. Why should they stay for this campaign rally? I like that symbolism. Get the hell out of there.
Has that ever happened before?
No.
Probably. No?
No, not that I'm aware of. No. We've never seen a dress like this. I'll bet there are dozens upon dozens of lies.
Oh, he's done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That was a weird ending. I didn't even realize he was
Yeah, it sort of
done.
ended, not with a bang, but with a whimper.
That was strange. Yeah, I didn't even realize he was done.
Yeah,
maybe I wasn't paying attention.
I was tuning out for his big list of.
All right, Dan.
whatever.
What's your summary analysis of this presidential address to Congress?
The term presidential is a travesty when it comes to this address. This was a pack of lies, exaggerations, exploitation of ordinary people, demagoguery, blaming everyone but himself for anything negative, taking credit for anything positive, no attempt to reach out across the aisle whatsoever or to appeal to anyone who's not, in his orbit. As I said, I go back a long way, I remember Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, presidents I've fundamentally disagreed with. But I've never seen any of those presidents produce a disheartening spectacle like this one. In fact, there are things in every one of those State of the Union or congressional addresses from those presidents with whom I disagreed that I could support, that I could agree with. Or if I didn't, I can say, okay, we can respectfully disagree. There was nothing respectful about this speech. It was I, and, supported by whatever lies he could fabricate at the moment and whatever ordinary people he could exploit. My heart goes out to all those folks. Their stories are amazing, but they were props for him. He doesn't care about ordinary people. He hasn't had for 50 years, ever since in the early 70s, the U.S. Justice Department found that he was discriminating against minorities in New York City in his real estate company. All his bankruptcies where he's walked away and just let everyone else holding the bag. His massive financial frauds. I can go on and on.
Was there anything from this speech that you liked?
I mean, I like the stories.
Okay.
The stories were good. But
he wants to end cancer. That's good.
Yeah, but he's cutting cancer research.
Right.
How is he ending cancer when he's gutting cancer research and putting a purveyor of quack science as our chief health officer? He says we need to cure measles with cod liver oil and vitamin A, which science shows have no relationship whatsoever to curing measles.
Yeah, that's a good point. Even when he says things that sound good, if you dig a little bit deeper, they're all BS.
They're all BS.
Full bottle A&W, folks.
I think I've finished it all.
All right, you want to just wrap it up here?
No, let's take a couple of questions.
You want to take a couple questions?
I'm ready to go, even though it's been 2 hours since we've been on the air. As I said, this is a Fidel Castro speech and about as, factual as a Fidel Castro speech.
You think so?
Yeah, maybe less so.
I'm not sure if any of these questions are in relation to the speech itself.
Oh, I only want questions in relation to the speech. Otherwise, we'll sign off.
Yeah, I don't see any. If anybody wants to donate and get a question answered in relation to the speech, now is the time to do so.
Yeah, I'm hanging in here for 2 hours. Come on. We deserve some donations.
Yeah. 1,600 people still watching, almost 1,700 people still watching. That's good.
What's our total?
I don't know yet.
Oh,
we're at 16,000 total views.
Well, that's very good.
That's
we're
very
at like
good.
8 or 10, so we've really upped it.
Right.
Thank you so much. We've worked really, really hard to persevere through 2 hours of this speech.
I think everybody has. I think everybody
and give you
has.
our best analysis. And I have to say, the chats have been right on. Really smart stuff.
What do you think the ratings on this will be tomorrow?
Ratings of these speeches are always good. So, because the partisans so heavily pump up the ratings. So I think, I'm just guessing, you never know what polls might show. but I think it's going to be very positive for Republicans, very negative for Democrats, and kind of marginally or, majority negative for independents.
Interesting. Well,
but again, the thing is, people are not fact checkers. Even we who do this kind of thing, we can't fact check him in real time. And so a lot of what he says sounds really good, except for the fact that it has no relationship to reality. But that's his MO. That's what he's done all his life. It's called the Gish Gallop. You throw out so much nonsense that sounds good that you just overwhelm people. People are not fact checkers.
Warren Ruda, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, says Canada missed a golden opportunity. They should have turned off the lights in Washington just to send a message.
Who should have?
Canada.
How could Canada turn out the lights in Washington?
This is from...
I mean, he did absolutely defame Canada, saying they're letting all this fentanyl in. A, they don't let fentanyl in. B, as we said, a minuscule amount of fentanyl comes in from Canada. C, you want to start the war on drugs, and how successful has that been over God knows how many decades?
Not successful.
Right. Warring on drugs does no good. Way back in 1950s, William Burroughs, a great author, wrote a book called Naked Lunch, and the basic point was, as long as you have unlimited demand, users, criminals will find a way. There's another great book, I think you gave it to me, called Cartel, in which the theme was people don't run the cartels. The cartels run the people. You can make them terrorist organizations, you can kill, you can imprison their leaders. The cartels live on.
Will a recession hurt the Keys? Yes.
Yes.
How about this is the final question for the night. This is from Axel Moreno. How surprising was the opening with Democrats making a major scene and a representative being removed from the chamber?
I was a little surprised by Al Green making a scene. I know he's very passionately against Trump, but and I'm a big fan of Al Green. He's a friend of mine, but I don't support what he did.
Someone says, Alan, Canada provides a chunk of the electricity for the U.S. Check into that fact.
Absolutely. This idea that we're being ripped off by Canada is just another, enormous falsehood. But how do you unpack that? We're being ripped off by Canada. You can throw that out in half a sentence, and it would take, pages upon pages to deconstruct it and disprove it. It's another big lie.
Let me just go through some donations real quick.
Okay, I think I've had it.
Yeah. Who Obs, Elizabeth Boyle, comic fan, Christina Gates, Joe Casara, Mark Sav, Tanika Washington, Jeremy Dusenberry, CD, Dusty Cole, CJ, Bilal.
A couple of $20 donations. Yeah. That's nice. That really helps
Nolan, Andrew. I think that's everybody. Oh, we just got a $50 donation from Zero. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Zero.
much.
That means a lot.
Yeah, we've worked really hard for 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, folks, that was Trump's address to Congress. I hope that didn't hurt you too bad.
My head is aching and spinning, but I'm glad I could be there for everyone and give you the best of analysis that I possibly could. And remember, nothing Trump said refuted what I said at the beginning. The 6 or 7 or 8 ways in which the so-called golden age is really the age of tarnish.
Good night. Thank you, Maria. Good night.
Good night.